Hey, Warrior Saints. Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to our Crucifixional live stream. Father Chris with you. Glad to have you beautiful people with us on this glorious day. September 11, 2001 was a devastating day in the life of this country and really throughout the world. And things, as you know, went crazy. A company named Victorinox was in a particularly difficult situation. Now, for those who may not know, Victorinox is a company who, at the time, about 70% of all of their revenue came from Swiss Army knives. And in an instant, when those buildings went down, knives were no longer being permitted to carry on planes. You couldn't ship them in your suitcase, all that kind of stuff, or the carry-ons. And so Victorinox found themselves literally in a pickle because the biggest revenue producing product immediately became almost impossible to travel around with. Now, many companies would find themselves, in a difficult situation, perhaps even facing bankruptcy, right? Victorinox was adaptable. They were flexible, and most importantly, they were agile. Let me tell you what I mean. Every leader knows that inevitably change is a coming. It's right around the corner, baby. Change is right there. And you know you can't stop it. You only have to confront it head on when it comes. Many people talk about the ability to adapt to change as being a positive thing, and indeed it is. Flexibility is one aspect of that adaptable mindset. You have to be able to bend with the wind. You think about a reed in a marsh, and when the wind blows, it's flexible, right? It's not hard and rigid, so it bends in the wind and it doesn't break. As we strive to become warrior saints, really to become the best people that we can be, we have to be flexible, and then we have to take one step ahead and become agile. Rather than just bending in the wind without breaking, we look for change as an opportunity to spring forward and to become even better than we were before the change. Victorinox did that very thing. After 9/11, they were smart, they were adaptable, and they were prepared, they were flexible, they had reserves of cash so they could work through the crisis of 9/11, and they didn't have to fire anybody during that time frame. But they did more than just bend without breaking. They became agile, using this incredible change, that moment, that terrible moment, as an opportunity to be agile and spring forward. And to this day, since 9/11 happened, Victorinox is an even more successful company. And guess what? Swiss Army knives is only a very small part of their revenue. See, they adapted with agility and began producing luggage, bags. They even make perfume. Victorinox did not allow themselves to be crushed by the weight of this terrible tragedy of September 11th. Instead, being adaptable, being flexible, and ultimately being agile. Now, you and I, as we strive to become warrior saints in our own lives, we've got to know, hey, change is coming, right? And you know that. It's around every single corner. It's always lurking, and sometimes it's uncomfortable because when change comes, we get like moved out of our systems, out of our processes, out of the things that we know, things that are habit, things that are comfortable. And sometimes we freak out with that. So how do we get over that? How do we find ourselves overcoming change with flexibility and ultimately with agility? There's a great story in the Bible, a couple of brothers, actually there's 4 of them, who hear about this guy Jesus, who's walking around looking for his disciples. He calls them, and rather than say no, rather than not entertain him, rather than just be adaptable, these 4 brothers became agile and followed Christ. In Mark chapter 1, we hear the following. And passing along by the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew, the brother of Simon, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And Jesus said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And immediately they left their nets and followed him. And going on a little farther, he saw James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, who were in the boat mending the nets. And immediately he called them, and they left their father Zebedee in the boat with his hired servants and followed him. It's an easy thing for us as Christians to say, oh, well, of course, they followed Jesus. But think about it from the perspective of Andrew and Peter and James and John. Like, they knew where the bread was coming from, right? They were fishermen. They made their money, made their living on the boat. In fact, it was probably even generational. At least it was for James and John, because they were fishing with Zebedee, their father. So now to leave all of that behind in the comfort and the stability of knowing where you're going to eat from, to follow someone who at least at that time was otherwise relatively unknown, required adaptability, flexibility, and ultimately agility. They knew that with Christ, something new was coming. Change was around the corner, hopefully for the better. And so they decided, let's spring forward and be agile. They followed Christ and eventually left their title of disciple behind, becoming apostles. Likewise, brothers and sisters, as warrior saints, we are called in an ever-changing world to be adaptable, to move towards flexibility, but to overcome by being agile. That's not always easy. And sometimes we need like some really solid tools in our hands to help us do that. How do we become agile? How do we become more than just a reed that doesn't break in the wind, but a reed that uses this opportunity to spring forward? To do that, you have to become a warrior saint. It's it. You got to get yourself on the path, pushing, I should say, towards becoming a warrior saint. That aspiration of becoming the very best man, woman, child that you can be is what God has called all of us to. At warriorsaints.org, we have a program. We have a library that's specifically dedicated to helping teach you how to become a warrior saint. In this case, so you can become agile. When you visit warriorsaints.org, if you scroll about like halfway down the page, I want you to visit the website, scroll about halfway down, and you're going to see the way of the warrior saint. It's our flagship. It's a library. It's filled with teachings. In fact, we even have one called Adaptability, Flexibility, and Agility. You're going to look in our Crucifixional Leadership series, and it's episode number 6. When you get this course, you're going to be able to watch this video and see some stories from history, what Jesus himself says, what the scriptures tell us about being agile, and ultimately some practical tools to help teach us to not just embrace, but to crave the change and the opportunity to spring forward. If you are looking to leave behind the fear of change, the uncertainty of change, to leave behind your comfort zones of mediocrity and become something exceptional, we say a warrior saint, it's pretty simple. There's only one choice. warriorsaints.org. Subscribe to the way of the warrior saint. Do it today, and let's get yourselves on the path to becoming great. Love you, beautiful people. We will be back on Sunday morning with Orthros and Liturgy at 9 and 10 a.m. Mountain Time, respectively, and then again on Monday as we resume our live stream. Love you, beautiful people. Have a great weekend, and as always, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.